Well, 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 look who's back. Seems like you really want to learn how to ride a motorcycle. Well, great thing is we're having a part 2 on our How to Ride a Motorcycle series today. Today's installment is going to go over how to properly shift your motorcycle, recognizing gears 1 all the way through 6, how to listen and what indicators pop up to let you know when to upshift your motorcycle and downshift your motorcycle. And lastly, what are some of the common mistakes that, let's be real, every one of us once before has made. So sit back, relax, and let's ride. So first things first, we want to get ourselves familiar with shifting from first gear, second, third, all the way up to 6. Now, on most motorcycles, the way that you wind up shifting is you have one gear going down and the rest going up. So gears 1 all the way down and 2nd through 6th all the way up if you have a 6th gear. Most of them have 5. And it would look like this. First gear goes all the way down, then a half click up is neutral, then up again is 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. And to go back down the gears, press down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Now, it's not just putting your foot on the pedal and just pressing down and up. No, that would be too easy. So, because motorcycles are manual, you need to engage what's known as the clutch lever. What we need to do is we need to make sure that we pull this in and press down to get into first gear. Then we can slowly let go, give the motorcycle some throttle, and it'll put us into gear.
So let's hit the road and see what are some of the other common mistakes that most motorcyclists make when learning how to ride a motorcycle. It is a learning process after all.
Now getting on the motorcycle to give you guys some real-world application as to some of the key important indicators and features that let you know when to upshift and downshift your motorcycle. So for me, on my motorcycle, I have a mixture of digital and analog gauges. So a couple things you want to look at is you want to pay attention to what gear you're in. So right now, my motorcycle is going to let me know that I'm in first gear. It doesn't show it just yet because I haven't released the clutch. When I release it, it's going to let me know there I am in first gear. Now, with also using that as a reference point, it physically telling you that you're in first gear, you can also look down towards the RPMs and see that the RPMs are climbing up. When the RPMs climb up is a good indicator of saying, hey, roughly in the near future, we're going to need to shift up. So what kind of helps me to let me know that I'm in first gear if I'm ever not looking down is I want to hear the engine of the motorcycle. So as we get faster and faster staying in a gear, listen to how the engine gets louder and louder and louder. That's one of the indicators to let you know when to shift. Along with the noise getting louder, louder, and louder, you have the RPMs that are climbing up as well to let you know, hey, we're getting close to the red line, you should probably shift now. And roughly how I gauge this is if I'm in a local setting, like a local road, and it's only about 25 miles an hour, I can stay in first gear if I really want to, but sometimes I don't like to. Sometimes I like to throw it up into second gear. So for me to go up to second gear, like we mentioned before, we want to pull that clutch in. It disengages the clutch itself. You flick up on the clutch lever, then let go of the clutch slowly as you roll onto the throttle. And that'll let you know that you're in second gear. Also with the fact that it literally says 2 on the gauge cluster, the RPMs have dropped now because it's getting into another gear, so it's going to build up those revolutions again. And now also the speed that we're going to. So if I wanted to get up into third gear, if we look down at the gauge cluster, it says that I'm roughly at about 2,600 RPMs. If I were to pull that clutch in again, disengage, go up in gear, keep the same amount of throttle, now it drops down to about 2,000 RPMs, all while giving it the same amount of throttle. And now I'm just going to downshift because we're coming to a stop. Again, to get us going, I want to slowly let off the clutch, give a little bit of gas on the throttle, and then eventually I can let go of the clutch completely. So, fun fact for those of you that are not motorcycle riders, even though the clutch helps you shift into gears by going up to, going down to first, up to second, third, you do not need to hold on to the clutch the entire time. So it's not like I need to hold on to this as I'm giving it throttle. All you're gonna do is just hear the engine scream. So if I wanted to, I'll hold in the clutch. The motorcycle just gets louder because there's no power going to the rear wheel. When I let go of that clutch, now we have some power going to the rear wheel. So every time I give a little bit more throttle, I'm gonna pick up some speed. So to show it again in real time, I'm in first gear. I wanna pull that clutch lever in, let off the throttle, kick up on the pedal, let go of the clutch little by little, and give it some throttle to pick up on some speed. And again, we're hearing the engine get louder and louder, seeing the RPMs travel up, seeing our speed climb up. I could do the same thing. I want to let off the throttle, pull in the clutch, kick up on the lever, slowly let the clutch out, and give it some throttle. Now we're in third gear. Now let's see what that looks like in quick time. The way that you know that you're getting better at shifting up and down in gears is how fluid and how smooth the transitions sound. When you first start off riding, it's okay. You're gonna make mistakes. That's all right. You might wind up pulling the clutch in, giving it, like shifting gears, giving it some throttle and never letting the clutch go. And you'll slowly realize when you start to come down in those miles per hour, you're not going anywhere because you failed to let go of the clutch, and that's okay. There might be some moments where you might do something like this, where you're freaking out, you're getting a little scared and nervous because you're learning how to ride. I pull the clutch in, downshift, and let it go too quickly, and the motorcycle juts me forward. You always want to have a good constant pressure of letting the clutch lever go and a smooth transition to the throttle, so you never feel that clunkiness or that jutting back and forth. So here's what a bad shift sounds like. We want to make sure that as we're riding, we're getting up in the RPMs so that when we switch into the next gear, the RPMs drop, match the speed that we're going, and we give it a little bit of throttle to keep going. If we don't give it enough throttle and we shift up into the next gear, or we shift too soon, it'll sound something like this. You hear the engine right now, it's going at like a nice smooth pace. You hear it, it's at a nice steady level, but if I were to upshift too soon, without giving it enough throttle, you'll hear the motorcycle start sputtering. So this is what it sounds like when you're going too slow for a gear. It just significantly dropped. Now when it comes to downshifting, you want to repeat the same process as you were upshifting. So where we typically let go of the throttle, pull in the clutch, we're gonna press down on the shifter peg, then slowly let out the clutch and give it some throttle to match the speed that we're going, to get some smoothness back on the motorcycle. So now I'm gonna drop myself down from fourth into third. Again, loosen off that throttle, pull in the clutch, press down on the shifter peg, let out the throttle smoothly, and give it some gas. And now you're in good motion. Now, one of the things that we want to be cautious of is when we shift down too soon and too abruptly and too fast. So what that would look like is, let's say if I'm picking up some speed, I'm going to downshift and just dump the clutch completely. Dumping the clutch means you just let go of it so fast. So if I were to pull the clutch in, downshift, and let go of it quickly, the motorcycle tries to match RPMs and it slams itself forward. So let me do that again. Picking up speed, pull the clutch in, press down, let it go. The motorcycle just slams you forward because it's trying to match the RPMs and the speed that you were going at once before. So we want to avoid doing that. We want nice, smooth, and easy transitions from gear to gear. But hey, it's gonna happen. You're learning, you're starting off, so we want to be okay with making mistakes like that. Just, I would prefer you make those mistakes in parking lots, not on the road. But hey, if it happens, it happens. When you're first learning to ride a motorcycle, mistakes are gonna wind up happening, and that's okay. Better to do them in controlled settings than do them out on the road. So now what upshifting too soon sounds like, if I don't have enough RPMs going, I'm gonna upshift. And my motorcycle sounds like it's lugging, it's about to stall. So you hear that? That's when it's too low in RPMs for the gear that you're trying to switch into. A taco affair? Ooh. So it does become a lot to think about, but that's okay. I mean, it's part of the learning process. Like I mentioned before, it's good to make these mistakes when you're in an enclosed setting. So if you're going to wind up practicing and you really want to hone in on your skills and you just got yourself a motorcycle, go in an empty parking lot. Find a place around you that has a completely empty parking lot or very little cars whatsoever, and just practice there. I would welcome the idea of being okay with making mistakes on your motorcycle, especially in an enclosed environment and setting like a parking lot, because if you were to drop your motorcycle, if you were to stall it out, if you were to go a little too fast, at least you're not going to wind up hitting into anything or injuring someone else. Allow yourself the opportunity to learn. And now I want to show you guys what shifting up and down in gears feels like on the highway. So we just got a little bit of experience in local riding. Now we're going to hop onto the highway to show you guys what it looks like when you're riding on the highway. Again, most motorcycles have 5 gears. If you're lucky and you have a 6th gear, it's just referred to as an overdrive gear, basically to allow you to chug highway miles. So I'm going to sit back and let the motorcycle do the talking now. And I want you guys, again, to pay attention to the speed, the RPMs, and also where it physically says 1 as I'm riding. And listen to the engine as it picks up.